All right, welcome back to the channel. Today's going to be covering a little bit of heavy gear and what my favorite book was from the original books that came out in the 90s. And this is the book that I bought myself. This is not a repurchase book. I've had this book for like, I don't know how long now. What, like about 30 years? It's pretty long at this point. The reason why this book is my favorite book is because of the artwork, and this is the reason why I got into heavy gear in the first place, simply because I really enjoyed, I'm going to butcher his name, but it's Ghislaine Barbe. I can't pronounce his name properly, so I'm just going to call him G. His art was fantastic. Obviously, the gears are based off Armored Trooper Votoms and stuff, but the way that it was interpreted here with a very anime style, I actually really prefer these designs to the Votoms ones. They're a little bit more crude looking. But this book in particular was really neat because it showed some of the early concept designs, and it was one of the first books where they had actually gone to the lengths of printing things in color, which was really cool. So on the front here you can see that there's a hunter mech or gear, and it says the making of a universe, Heavy Gear Design Works. So we'll just flip this open, and you can see here not all of the pages are colored, but some of them are. You can see there's a cutaway of one of the hunter gears. You can see September 93 to September 97, and pretty awesome. So I'll just try and put this right around here. Turn this way. So these are some of the pictures that were used for the way they developed the narrative with some of the happenings in the world, the plot and the lore were delivered through these sorts of pictures in like a kind of like a newspaper / email / text message / news broadcast sort of way, which I personally don't agree with that, the way they went about doing that. I think it would have been much better if they had novels and characters and they played their roles in the storyline. But this is the kind of pictures that you would see in the main rule book. But it was nice to see that some of it actually colorized, 90s coloring, which is pretty interesting. As you can see here, this is one of the warrior mechs or warrior gears based off of the hunter. And let me just see if I can move this around. See some more great pictures here. There's a gear pilot. And I don't know what he is, but he looks like he's some kind of bomb retrieval thing. I think he's a adder. I can't remember what he is exactly. But just in general, I really like the character designs of everything for the actual people, not just the gears. I think that it had a very unique style to it that I haven't really seen in a lot of other animes or mangas and stuff. You can see here there's gear helmet, and this is one of the earlier groundhog style gears there. And you can see in the beginning of the book, there's the early head for the hunter, developing some of the artwork. And page 11, see some explosions. A lot of this was really rough, but sometimes the best artwork is the rough stuff that you can see all the construction lines for everything, and it's really cool to see. And here you got a cobra right there, and kind of grizzly sneaking up behind a Jaeger. And one of the newer gears, I think that is a black mamba. Maybe this way. Maybe I'll just get a little bit more info in the frame here. There, no, back. That looks perfect. Another picture of a grizzly. Looks like another grizzly over here. A lot of the mechs, actually, or the gears, I keep saying mechs because I play a lot of Battletech as well. The gears had, this one's had French names like the Cavalier or the Chevalier. I don't know how to pronounce that one properly. And you got the raccoon, one of the earlier looking designs. You got the groundhog and the hard hat, and then over here you got a really, really early version of the Jaeger based off the Hunter, really early Hunter. These ones look a little bit like Astro Boy to me. And you've got the Weasel and the Mad Dogs, which were kind of, well, at least the Mad Dog anyway, is kind of like a phased out gear that isn't really used as much anymore, but is more seen in backwater sort of environments. There's an early prototype version of the Grizzly, and even an early version of the Jaeger there. Well, not the Jaeger, the Jaguar, with his different style of head. And he didn't have the traditional backpack that most of the gears are having now. Here's one called the Blocker. I don't think he ever actually turned into a real design. I never saw him in any of my other books. And there's a Nucol gear, the Chasseur. You got the Anaconda, which I don't think ever turned into a real gear. The Boa, I think, yeah, he definitely did. And then you got the Sidewinder, which is another one of those kind of phased out gears. You got a Command Jaeger or Jaguar. Keep getting those mixed up. And then this page is pretty cool because it shows off some of the, can I move a little bit more like that? There we go. A little bit more just the generic vehicle design, some of the flyers and stuff. And then you've got some of the Striders, which are the big, more crab-like gears. I guess they're not gears. I guess they're just about like maybe twice as big as a heavy gear, something like that. And then the setting, they always had these weird little totem heads, like those heads on that island. You have a little bit of the environmental design for the Peace River, which was kind of jammed into the side of a cliff, which was pretty cool looking. And some of the buildings you'd see in the kind of Badlands environment kind of reminds you a little bit of the Star Wars type stuff on Tatooine. Some water collection, moisture trap type stuff, some wind generation. And they also have creatures as well. Even in the art books that I have, there's cool sections in them where they show off some of the different creatures and such. So you can see all the cool looking guys here. This was a pretty good book. Like, it was about 80 to 100 pages, I think. You got some super deformed versions of the gears, the little bit of comedic stuff there. And then this was my favorite part. I'll probably try and make sure that this is censored so you can see it quite well. But these were nice because they were like fully colored in the first generation style of the graphic design of HeavyGear, which I think was really, really strong and has since kind of trailed off and faded out. And the game has become like visually a lot more just mechanical and about the mechanics of the game, and less about creating like a really neat, as far as the graphic design and the layout of the pages and stuff, and the colors used and the fonts and the hazard striping and stuff. I really enjoyed opening up even the first HeavyGear rule book that I'd bought. I really liked how it was laid out, and as I said, it's just in recent books it has really kind of faded out, and they're a lot less interesting to look at. So that's why I kind of prefer the 90s and early 2000s HeavyGear stuff to some of the newer things. So this just goes through and it lists off some of the basic facts about the Hunter. And this is the Hunter with his square head, because originally he had more of a rounded type head. And then over on the left here you can see the Jaguar, who's the kind of replacement for the Hunter, but he's more expensive obviously. Kind of faster, better in almost every way than the Hunter, but costs more and maybe not as reliable. Then on the right page here, these are all northern mechs. Northern mechs are a lot more blocky and chunky looking. And here you have the cheetah. Again, the quality artwork from this artist is fantastic. Really good posing, good foreshortening and perspective on all the elements are really, really good. Some of the newer HeavyGear art is still pretty good. A couple of the artists that they picked up looks like they've been able to draw mecha fairly well. I think one of them actually shares with the guys at Catalyst doing the Battletech stuff. But then we have the Grizzly, which I think is one of the coolest looking gears in the game. He's really big and blocky looking, and he's got a great big gun. He's got huge rocket pods and a mortar on his back and a vibro knife. So yeah, he's really, really cool. And I actually have some of the original 87 scale. I think they were pewter miniatures, which are really, really neat. I haven't put them together yet. I'll probably do a video on them in a little while. But the next page that I thought was really cool is this Spinning Cobra. It's got, again, a really huge gun and a rocket pod. And the South has a different kind of visual style to their gears, a little bit more rounded looking. I think I prefer the look of the more angled ones, but there are some really cool ones. Like I really like the iguana and the style, the black mamba as well. And I like that they all had like their little code names and stuff, and they had like pre-war and post-war, the different wars that happened, manufacturing codes and things, which was really, really cool. And you can see they even put a little bit of the clip art found in other parts of other books onto these pages as well. So I thought that was really neat. And you got just the regular Jaeger here. And you got the final designs. That's a Mammoth Strider. And this page is actually really, really cool. Maybe I'll slide this over, try and bring this down. You can see the original way the Hunter was designed. He's got more of like a rounded style head, and that later evolved into more of a square style head. You'll see later on in here. And you got the Head Hunter, who had a different head with an electronics suite in it that gave him better communications and electronic warfare type stuff. You had the Hunter Commando, and you got the Paratrooper Hunter, and the Hunter Spearhead, which I think he looks actually quite cool, especially when he's colorized. I've seen in some of my other books he's colorized and looks really neat. One of my favorite ones ever was this guy here, the Armored Hunter. He was all bulked up with extra armor and stuff, and the little tiny bit of lore that's about him made him sound like he was very incompetent and too heavy and not very well utilized in the HeavyGear universe. But I really liked the way that art was drawn. He just looked really cool and big and bulky and chunky looking, kind of like Gravis armor and or Terminators in Warhammer 40,000. And then here you've got the Jaguar and the Fire Jaguar. It's got a little bit different of a head, kind of looks like something from like RoboCop. And then you've got like military police versions of some of the gears, and the Strike Jaguar. You got the Tiger, which is kind of like the predecessor to everyone. And then you've got the Razorback, which I think some of the older designed mech or gears are really cool. Like I really like how utilitarian this gear looks. And when I eventually get around to buying some of these newer, or I guess they're not really new anymore, but some of these gears in the 144 scale, I'd like to pick up some of the older ones that are more deprecated, I guess. And then you've got the Cheetah, which it looks pretty cool. He's kind of smaller looking. He's more similar to I guess the Iguana. This is a Strike Cheetah. And then you've got the White Cat, which is kind of like a electronic warfare type version of the Strike Cheetah, or just the regular Cheetah, from what I understand. The Bobcat, I think he was a predecessor version of the Cheetah. MP version, you got a Black Cat, which is kind of like a stealth gear. And Then you've got the grizzly and several different variants of the grizzly, the striped grizzly, the rabid grizzly, the bear, which was, again, the predecessor to the grizzly. And then you've got, I don't know if he's a successor of the grizzly or just a more assault version of the grizzly, but you got the Kodiak, and he's a little bit bigger, and he's even more bulkier and cooler with more armor and bigger, heavier guns, and maybe more of a medium to long range support type gear. But one of the things I did like about these bigger guys is instead of having wheeled feet, because they all had secondary movement systems, they had treads for feet instead of rolling around on wheels, which I thought was pretty cool looking. And then we get it over here, and you can see the mammoth striders and the assault mammoth, and these really, really huge ones here, the thunder hammer and stuff. We jump over here. This is about 61 pages now, and you got the Yager, you got the command version of him, you get the Blitz one, you got the paratrooper. This is also another one of my favorite pieces of artwork for this guy. I really like how he's posed, and he's got a cool looking gun with a big drum on it, kind of like a Tommy gun, and he's got air brakes for his legs and stuff that can flip out when he's falling through the air to slow himself down. I think he's one of the coolest looking designs. I'd love to see a high-res sculpted version of him, not done in Fusion 360, but like actually sculpted, like, or hard surface modeled properly. And then you got the Dart Yager and then the Flying Yager there. You've got the Black Mamba, which is the kind of like the Jaguar sort of counterpart for the South. And you got several different variants of him. The Long Fang, which is kind of a big rocket version. And again, this is one of the cooler other mechs, or the gears. I keep saying mechs. It's a drinking game for how many times I say mech. You got the Black Adder gear, and I really like the design on him as well. Kind of, he's got a smaller head and more of a hunched sort of older school sort of design. And then you got the Iguana, which is kind of a smaller, sneakier version of for the South. That's kind of the counterpart of the Cheetah. Several different versions of the guy. You got the Chameleon, opposite of the Black Cat, and the Chatterbox, kind of electronic warfare guy there. And then you got the Spitting Cobra stuff and all the different Cobra variants. You got King Cobra, you've got some of the older gears for the South with the Python and the Desert Viper Mark II. And he's got a really awesome underslung sort of grenade launcher looking thing, and a big heavy auto cannon or something, auto rifle or something like that. And again, really cool posing, really nice artwork. Some of the best stuff that I'd seen. And you got some of the Southern Striders. Pretty neat designs. I really like how they look. I really hope they get around to actually making a really good HeavyGear video game, maybe in Unreal 5. That would be pretty sweet. I've made myself a couple buildings for HeavyGear at 144 scale, which is about like 13 millimeter scale. So guys would be like not that big. And you also have tanks and armored fighting vehicles as well for the North and the South. And you can see some of the different ones that were available here. And then you got a whole bunch of flyers, which I'm not as interested in. Kind of remind me of Aerotech that was in Battletech. And you got a full page of just like all the different rocket pods and machine guns and anti-tank stuff and auto cannons, particle cannons, like you name it. It's all kind of here. And this is one of my favorite pages in the book, where it shows some of the gear heads, like the prototype head for the Jaguar and the standard Jaguar head. I actually kind of prefer the prototype head just because it's more angular looking. And then you can see here the standard Hunter head used to be round, and then it ended up getting all squared out later on with this head. So there's standard Hunter head, and then you've got the more square A2 Hunter head, which I think is really cool to see the development of how they tried to differentiate the gears from each other, which was pretty cool. And you got all the different ones here. And you got the Jagers, I don't think changed quite as much. You've got the Mambas and kind of round and stuff. I like the Grizzly's head because it's got all the armor plating and stuff all over it. You can see all the optic systems, and then you've got the main cockpit where the guy slides in, and then the gear head slides down over top of your head, and you have your pilot helmet and all the actuators, and sometimes you've got power gloves, and sometimes it uses joysticks and stuff, but here you can see a little bit of more colorized stuff. There's the Orca flyer, and this is something called a wallfish, and you've got a big blimpy type vehicle, transport. I do like some of these tanks. I don't know if they ever made all of the tanks, but I do really like this one. I like that design quite a bit, and I'm pretty sure both of these got models. And then you've got Striders, the Long Fang, and the Salt Mammoth. Very, very cool. And another really, really big one that looks kind of like a big pit bull. This last page is really neat. Maybe I'll zoom in slightly on this one, because you can see like that, some of the size differentials between the gears. So there was quite a big difference between the size of a cheetah and the size of a grizzly. Very noticeable, especially if you were standing side by side. You can see same thing with the king cobra versus the iguana, or the gila. And then you can see that the Striders were actually maybe they're not quite twice as big as a gear, but it looks like they're a lot wider in some cases. So that was a really cool looking page. Zoom this back out slightly. And then it gets into a little bit about the character design, with Miranda with her pigtails. Again, really nice sketches and character design stuff for these. Definitely one of the strong points of the game was the visual art design of everything. You can see some of the Badland guys. You had the Grells, the super soldiers with shaved heads. Yeah, this guy got assassinated. And some of the leader people, some of the more religious people, and that's just about it. This is page 105, and shows off a little bit of the environments and stuff. One of the things that's probably the weakest about the world building, especially in like the books, was there wasn't enough art that was done to show what some of the worlds look like, I guess, or not the worlds, but the cities and stuff, like the difference between the UMF versus the Western Frontier Protectorate and stuff, like what exactly were the main differences between what they look like, and differentiating themselves from like just the way our world looks now. I wish there was a little bit more artwork for this kind of thing, but it was nice to still be able to see it and have it still be in color for these ones here. You can see all the Timbuktu and Zigzag, some planes. This is one of the cooler locations that I like in this world. It's where they have the City of Trash, and they have the pit fighting that goes on with the gears, which I think is really, really cool. And they even say, yeah, it was inspired by the Battle Angel show. And that's it. And then that shows some of the people of DreamPod 9, and that is the rear of the book, the cutaway of the gear again. And yeah, this is my original book. Very cool. Probably still my favorite book out of everything I've bought, including all the stuff that I've purchased off of eBay to try and get the stuff that I missed out on over the years, between the second edition books and the technical manuals and stuff. So if you ever see this book anywhere and you're a fan of heavy gear, I suggest you get this one. It's really cool, and this video has been going on for a while, so I'll cut it off now. Well, thank everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye-bye.